Okay, should we talk about some actual games now? Do you want to talk about Misfits a little bit? Because part of this, I think it's important to set the stage for Misfits a little bit, which is why I find this interesting, is that these players really don't have much to play for. I guess VTO does because his contract's at the end of this year, but they know the org is being sold. Who knows if they've been offered guarantees to their spots with the new Heretics organization? Like, I don't know if they bought out these players' contracts, or who knows.
You look at the way BDS went, it looks unlikely. I mean, as far as I know, when BDS bought Schalke, they had the option to like offer to those players like everyone, but if you notice, they basically didn't pick the players up. So even though fans will think, well, they'll just keep most of the players, there's no reason, not necessarily.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, there's a world when zero of these players play next year, because I'd assume Vethio goes to a better team anyway, and then who knows if they even pick the others. The only other good one, in my opinion, is even Neon. That's it.
Right.
Any other good player.
I mean, I think that part of this has to be, the credit has to be given to Zanzara as well, who is on the, who comes in. Zlatan was not great off the Lee Sin. You have to say it. I think he was an issue, but Zanzara was also a player who was cut from Astralis and who's brought into this team and has shown pretty immediate improvements.
He's been all right. He's okay. He was winning games when he was just pop ulting fucking nothing. Like he was just. So he had some games that he was just a spectator for me. But at the end, I'll give him credit. He won a couple of these latter ones, and also the other thing that Dom made a point, but I think he's totally right. Is it's like teams, because the other LEC teams do think Zanzara's bad. Spoiler behind the scenes, they do, because they thought he was bad. It's like they were drafting him into fucking Nirvana. He was just getting poppy every fucking game. What was that? Like that was crazy. It's like they were daring him to. I hate. By the way, there's one thing I hate in League of Legends, Monte. I'll never understand why people do it. Is when you go like, I'm going to dare this, what I call bad player, to beat me on one of the strongest champs in the game. Well, you know what? Good luck with that, I guess. Go for it. Like, guess what? People did that against Armut and fucking Wukong a million times. Like, come on, man. Why are we doing this?
By the way, my Poppy tweet aged like so well. After the buff.
How long ago was that? That was a few months ago now, right?
It was before MSI, because that's when they buffed Poppy. Okay. When I said specifically in April, when the Poppy buffs came through, that this was the cooldown buff to, having her ultimate up more, or like having the speed of her ult happen faster, having the knock up happen longer, as well as having the W on a lower cooldown, and professional level was going to make a massive difference in terms of Poppy's ability to be played at the professional level. And it came true.
I'm going to question what you think abstractly about how people are playing with the champion in the game, Monty. Because one thing I'm not a big fan of is, in the same way as a lot of the Western Talias don't actually use the wall like aggressively and as a way to like play make, they just like do it when they have to, right? And one thing I hate about watching the Western Poppies is, dude, they just spam the ult. They just do it as fast as possible. That is an ult I would be holding and make sure I land it on the right target. What do you think? Should you gamble it more? Is it worth just throwing out there?
I think that to
me, that's like the ultimate target selection. If you get it right, you just win the whole fight.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly valuable, and it's a lot easier to hit because the projectile speed was increased as part of her buffs. You do have to be like, basically the way the best poppies use it is they'll like start dragon, and then like when the enemy team comes to contest, that's when you just eject them so you can finish an objective. So you have to coordinate around it very well as a team in order to use it to its kind of most optimum value. There's lots of uses for it. You could knock Rift Herald away when it's about to charge. That can be very helpful for you as a team to deny plate gold. And then also it's a decision making between, do I go in and use this ult to get the 1 second knock up? Like, do I see an angle where I want to use this for CC in order to kill somebody, or do I want to use this for CC to remove somebody from the fight because it has multiple applications? It's very strong as a result, but you do have to be very conscientious as a team about how you're going to use this ult. And you're either going to choose as a team to take the man advantage for an objective, or to take a team fight, and everybody has to be on board with that coming in. This is why it's very good, because it offers extreme flexibility in the way you can play the game, but it's very challenging to use it on a team comms and teamwork level, which is why after these buffs, Poppy took time, because she plays weirdly. You have to play weird as a team with Poppy, or differently than you would with most other jungles. So I think, honestly, though, I do think that part of Misfits' success has been the Zanzara pickup. And it's not his individual play aside or his individual skill ceiling. This is a really good meta for Zanzara. He is a tank jungler.
Yeah, of course.
The history of his play, Skarner is his number 2 most picked jungler of all time. Trundle is number 3. He has a 77% win rate on Skarner across 31 games. Okay?
By the way, think about
Poppy,
that,
Skarner...
Astralis, he has a win rate like that. It's pretty good.
Poppy, Skarner, Trundle, these are Zanzara champs. And so they've also just kind of fit into the meta that way. They got a little bit lucky, or they realized this meta was coming and picked up Zanzara because he was a free agent, and Zlatan is playing these kind of, he's a Lee Sin one trick, basically, if we're going to be reductionist about it. I also think that other factors such as over time, we have seen Irrelevant get better. I think he's been a pleasant surprise.
Sure. Yeah, he's actually gradually gotten better the whole split, yeah.
Neon and Vitio, if we think about why Misfits was doing so well and were pulling off upset victories, they were winning based off of late game scaling and being able to create picks into the late game. Now, why in this week?
I'm amazed how teams draft against Misfits. It's probably the most puzzling thing to me. Yeah.
Why is Mad Lions giving Yuumi first pick to Misfits? You have to ban Yuumi against Misfits. That is literally
probably the number 1 team in the league who don't want to have a supercharged carry. Exactly. That's all they do is win from Vetio and fucking Neon. Get that champion out of the game. So
why I was so confused about this game that they played yesterday was because if you just rewind the clock, rewind, and you go back to the last split, and you just look at the games that they played, people will say, oh man, yeah, Vitio Akali, look at those picks he was getting late. People never discuss that it was Yuumi on the Akali that was making these plays possible.
It was ridiculous, yeah.
You cannot give them Yuumi because they are good at late game macro. Like, if there's anything Misfits is good at, it is that. Yes. Creating opportunities for themselves in the late game. And if you give them that scaling, they will capitalize on it.
That's the part I find so puzzling.
Yuumi.
Basically, I'm not joking, Monte. This is the team that I would be so cynical about my draft. Like, I would essentially draft Monte like I just hate Vetio and Neon. And all I'm trying to do is ruin their game. Because, spoiler, that is all I'm trying to do. If I ruin one of those guys' game, my chances of winning probably go like double. It's ridiculous. Whereas instead, what they do, and this is what I hate about league coaches in general, Monte. True, I know there's a whole scrim economy, obviously I'm not accessing. But the way they draft looks like it's like they never do that. Like, if people don't know, famously, this is what they always say, like in the NBA or whatever, like, shut down the score. But they never do. It's always the opposite. It's like, well, we can just deal with him scoring 40. And then what happens is if that guy scores 50, you just lose the whole game because you just left him open. So, like, I don't know why people, I would genuinely, I know you're supposed to treat all teams like they can all play the meta. I would be so cynical drafting against this team. Because they've gotten so many wins off it. Like, the thing I don't get is this, Monte. I'm not even a hater of Misfits. They started out the split very badly. I would have said they were trash for the first, 2-3 weeks. But I actually think, the players have played way better. As you say, they actually are half decent, know what they do late game. But this is my problem. They don't create that scenario themselves. The other teams help them in draft, then randomly throw in the middle of the game, and then one of those two players carries. Like, the premise is there. Like, if you were those players, you wouldn't even be able to carry the game if other teams, did a different approach against you, in my opinion. Or at least you very rarely would.
Yeah, and they're getting a lot of these big scaling picks. I mean, certainly the meta has shifted into Misfits' favor. Oh, sure. It's definitely working out for them. If we talk about Irrelevant's performance, he doesn't actually have to carry this team. He could just play tanks. Like, that's certainly an option right now, which is good considering his level of experience within the top league. And Vitio and Neon can carry this roster. Look what's happening. It's a Silas meta. Great for Vitio, quite clearly. Neon moving into these hyper carries. Well, that's really good for the way that they play as a team. They are capable of coming back and making up these deficits.
For Neon now is basically what Jinx was for him last split. Like, if he gets that, he's just going to carry the fight, isn't he?
But also, if you are playing against Misfits, don't pick early game compositions. Like, if you are Mad Lions, why are you playing Aatrox and Vi into them? The thing about Misfits is, even if they're at a deficit, they can hold you off long enough. You have to fight them in terms of getting advantages early while also having subscaling. They are not very strong in the early game.
That's what's wild, dude. Both teams that week drafted Vi against them. Both! By the way, I'm also so sick and tired of Western vibes. Why are you playing it? I know you play it because you saw a fucking LPL player use it. You don't know how to use it. Half of you fucking shit with that champion. It's so, but like, I can tell that's a fucking scrim champion. It's just so obvious, isn't it? Because they pick it like priority as well. Like, it's crazy.
It's also arguably not even good in LCK.
It's only single target. It's shit, isn't it? No, it's a single target champion. What's the point of that?
If you're going to have a single target champion, the other problem, like a single target lockdown like that, the other problem is you have to have follow up. And if the other team drafts Yuumi, Trundle, and Ornn, and then also has a Silas that can steal your own vial.
Oh yeah. By the way, good luck going in on that for a start off. Yeah. That's one thing I always wonder about with these coaches, right? I get the premise that you draft, you look at lane matchups, you look at the overall comp. I'll tell you one thing I wish more Western coaches would look at. All I want you to do is this. Look at your team comp. Now go in your brain. Imagine we're 23 minutes. I'll pick this time very carefully, Monty. We're 23 minutes into the game and we're having a bunch of team fights and skirmishes and your team is 5k behind. Now what I want you to imagine as a coach is imagine what it feels like to engage as your jungler. If the scenario is like, the joke is like you jump in and it's like when Summit went in on that Renekton in Spring and you just get instantly smashed by like 4 people and you can't even hit a single person. You haven't necessarily done a very good comp there, or your team doesn't know how to play. Because, mate, some of these comps, like you're saying, like it's like the other one where they did the Poppy against 5 fucking champions with dashes. Do you remember when they all drafted into a first pick Poppy?
Yeah.
That was like a match last week. These are like inconceivable drafts because I'm just thinking again, imagine being the fucking other players there, like enjoy the game, enjoy. some of the like, who the fuck wants to be the jungler going into like champions that slow you, CC you can't get to them, the backline's moving backwards, kiting you like a motherfucker. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
So yeah, I think Misfits has, they're really benefiting a lot from the current meta. It's back in their wheelhouse.
Well, them and Vitality have done a crazy comeback this split. It's mental, isn't it, how crazy the turnaround's been for these teams.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.